All of you.
In the opening scene, Daniel Mason is fleeing from mercenaries who are pursuing him. After some time, they successfully catch him in a tight alley. Leading the group is Hatcher, who appears to be in command and acts calmly, telling Daniel to surrender. Daniel refuses to surrender and fights back, but because he had been running for so long, he was weary and unable to fight to his full potential. Hatcher easily overpowers him, and Daniel sustains terrible injuries. They then take him away while Daniel fights, unable to resist owing to his weakened condition. The scene shifts to reveal a man wearing a mask. He enters a site and quietly eliminates all of the guards. Later, we discover that this man is John Gold, a former member of the Special Forces. After retiring, he became a mercenary, taking on private missions. The same outfit has kidnapped a girl, and his current task is to rescue her. In the meantime, we observe Daniel enduring torment. Yet his agony prevents him from divulging any crucial information. It is revealed that Daniel formerly served in the Special Forces alongside John Gold. Daniel had gotten some intel on the illegal operations carried out by Hatcher and his mercenaries. This has landed him in this situation, and Hatcher mocks him about the death of his parents, whom the mercenaries had eliminated earlier on before catching Daniel. Hatcher threatens Daniel with torture if he doesn't speak up on who he works with. Back in the city, we see John Gold, who lives alone in his house. He suddenly receives a voice message on his phone. The note reads, "John, your friend needs your assistance. Something has gone wrong with our quest." However, before the message reaches its conclusion, John hears gunshots, indicating that a dreadful event has happened. John, determined to help, immediately prepares himself and sets out. When he arrives at his friend's house, he finds it locked, but he simply breaks in. Inside, he discovers dried blood stains on the floor, indicating that something horrific has occurred. He instantly contacts Daniel's commanding officer to learn what happened to him and his family. He learns that Daniel's entire family has perished. John visits the morgue to examine Daniel's body. The doctor presents the body to John, revealing that Daniel endured severe torture prior to a fatal stab to the neck. The doctor says that Special Forces soldiers discovered Daniel's body in the wilderness while returning from a mission. The commander of that Special Forces unit wrote the report. Afterward, John goes to the graveyards of Daniel and his parents. He stands there in sadness, vowing to exact retribution on those guilty, stating, "Whoever did this, I'll make sure they regret it." Someone is watching John from a distance as if astonished to see him. John visits his childhood home, and it is revealed that he and Daniel grew up together. Soon after, John discovers a new clue while reading an entry in a reporter's notebook. It has a recording that suggests Daniel was investigating Hatcher, who is involved in dubious activities. The memo states that Daniel learned Hatcher had committed crimes in Afghanistan, although there is no official record of these actions. Later that evening, John visits a bar to learn more about Daniel's inquiry. A group of men observe him and understand that he is seeking information about Daniel's death. One of the men instructs the tavern owner to kick John out, but before John can go, a girl approaches him and claims she knows Daniel. She invites him to join her later to discuss what she knows. As John leaves the pub, Hatcher's group surrounds him, but Barnes intervenes, telling them not to cause any problems. Though they back off, John notes their expressions. Hatcher advises John to leave town and never return, or he will be next. Another woman, Sandra, informs John that Daniel was a wonderful man who told her unusual things about the town's illicit activities while traveling together. Sandra appears uneasy, as if she's hiding something, and John assumes she's involved in narcotics. She explains that a month ago, everything was normal. In town, small-time drug traffickers like herself could operate without incident. But then, a gang of powerful people arrived and took over everything, forcing the tiny dealers to quit. When Sandra attempted to resist, they intimidated her, leaving her terrified and defenseless. Sandra goes on to explain that she can't do anything about the drug situation because the entire supply is controlled by a specific gang led by someone strong. After hearing this, John informs her he needs to go to the drug distribution facility. Despite her reservations, Sandra agrees and takes him there. To escape suspicion, Sandra enters the establishment disguised as a customer. Before entering, he places a listening device on Sandra to monitor what is going on inside. As soon as she departs, a man named Lambert approaches Sandra and warns her that she will face significant consequences unless she discovers who John is and why he is asking about Daniel. During this time, John listens to the conversation and starts piecing things together. When Sandra returns, John queries her about why the locals do not report the illegal activity to the police. Sandra becomes irritated and explains that while there is a police station in town, no one works there. A dominant group controls the entire town, and there is no true law or order. Those in power dominate. John returns home and listens to another recording. This recording reveals that the drug trade in Devotion Town has become uncontrollable. Hatcher and his crew are responsible for this out-of-control situation. Hatcher is in charge of overseeing the entire organization, while a brutal woman named Barnes serves as his second-in-command. Marshall, another crucial figure in the organization, is well known for his dangerous nature. The third member is Stockwell, a vicious man who is willing to kill on Hatcher's orders. The fourth is a fighter named Lambert, who specializes in hand-to-hand fighting. With this information, John thinks he's coming closer to discovering the truth about Daniel's killing and the crooked system that controls the town. Concerned after her conversation with Lambert, Sandra discloses John's whereabouts to Lambert, oblivious to the fact that John has been listening in on all their conversations through a covert device. Knowing that Hatcher's men will soon arrive for him, John braces himself for the imminent showdown. As expected, Hatcher's group arrives at John's house, ready to kill him. However, they fail to recognize John's full preparation.
Let's just make sure he's dead.
Hatcher becomes enraged upon learning that he has lost 4 of his highly trained soldiers. He recognizes John as not an average person and orders his staff to get more information on him right away. Meanwhile, John revisits a familiar location in town, reflecting on how much has changed in the previous 5 years. He speaks with a local woman, Rose, who recalls how Daniel and his father were friendly regular guests at her shop. She reveals that Hatcher and his men control the entire town, and there's a possibility they are the ones behind his death and his parents. After obtaining facts, John encourages Rose to leave the town, stating that it is no longer a place for beneficial people to reside. Afterwards, he goes to meet Sandra, who is shocked upon his unexpected appearance. Meanwhile, Sandra makes her way to the drug warehouse. Lambert, who is expecting her, unlocks the door as she walks in. Just when everything seems peaceful, John unexpectedly appears, brandishing a gun at Lambert, catching him completely off guard. Shortly, a fight ensues. After the immediate threat has subsided, John confronts Lambert, a crucial participant in the drug operation, and insists on understanding why a Special Forces squad was involved in this catastrophe along with the events in Afghanistan that precipitated it. Lambert, cornered and realizing he cannot escape, begins to reveal the truth. He explains that their squad's mission in Afghanistan was to destroy a truckload of weapons, but upon their arrival, they stumbled upon an unexpected discovery: heroin. It was an enormous sum, enough to make them all wealthy. The crew viewed this as an opportunity to build a drug empire and use it as a retirement plan. Instead of sticking to their purpose, they chose to sell the heroin and start a drug business back home in a little village far from big cities where they believed they could go undetected. However, Daniel, a member of their Special Forces unit, learned what they were doing. He was not part of their strategy and disagreed with their illicit acts. Fearful that Daniel would report them and expose their activity, the group had no choice except to eliminate him. After hearing this, John becomes enraged. Without hesitation, he murders Lambert for his betrayal. As they exit the warehouse, John observes a mystery man watching them from the shadows. This individual does not belong to Hatcher's group, and John senses a connection to a third party interested in the ongoing events. Meanwhile, Hatcher receives a report from Barnes that the man who killed their men is named John Gold. John Gold, a former military operative known as a one-man army, disappeared 3 years ago. There has been no formal record of him since then. Barnes also suggests that John and Daniel had a close friendship akin to that of brothers. Hatcher learns that John is not any random military operative, he is seeking vengeance for Daniel's death. Hatcher begins to worry that John's involvement could signal the start of a bigger military inquiry into their unlawful activities. As he tries to figure out what's going on, he receives a call from Stockwell, another vital member of their group. Stockwell breaks the terrible news: John has destroyed the entire drug facility, killed all their men, and left the operation in chaos. John, on the other hand, pursues his purpose. He seeks out Sandra's boyfriend, Keith, a minor figure in the drug trade. John confronts Keith, who confesses that Daniel treated Sandra like a sister. When Daniel found Hatcher's drug enterprise, he told Sandra that he planned to submit the entire situation to his superiors. Sandra unknowingly gave this information to Lambert, who used it to organize Daniel's murder. Sandra never intended for Daniel to die. According to Keith's sobbing confession, she had no notion that expressing what she knew would result in such a horrible end. John, believing Sandra's betrayal was an accident, leaves her alive but horrified by her role in Daniel's death. Here's the text which John continues his search for Hatcher and his soldiers. Stockwell and some of Hatcher's remaining crew ambush him on his route. Despite suffering injuries during the fight, John successfully eliminates Stockwell and the others one by one. Just as John is at his most vulnerable, a mysterious figure appears. This man is not a member of Hatcher's group but appears to know John. The two exchange a few words, with John admitting that they'll have to chat later, but for now, he has unfinished business with Hatcher. John escapes to his place to fix himself up before the last battle. He asks Sandra for the location of Hatcher's fortress. Sandra, now completely on John's side, supplies the information, knowing that Hatcher's reign of terror must end. Meanwhile, Hatcher is completely aware that John is pursuing him. He prepares for the showdown by arming himself and getting his surviving men ready to fight. John, determined and concentrated, rushes to Hatcher's residence, annihilating everybody who stands in his way. The mystery man who had been witnessing the combat from afar watches as John ruthlessly eliminates Hatcher's forces. Finally, it's just John and Hatcher.
I don't get.
As the fight approaches its peak, Hatcher attempts to strangle John with all of his remaining might. But just as Hatcher is ready to finish him off, the mysterious man steps in, striking Hatcher from behind and saving John. With Hatcher beaten, John finally finds the closure he has been seeking. The mysterious man is revealed to be someone from John's past, a former superior officer who had also traveled to the village to investigate Hatcher's drug enterprise. He had been watching John's moves, waiting for the appropriate opportunity to intervene. In the aftermath, Rose, the local woman John had spoken with earlier, discovers a bag of money left for her at her cafe along with a note asking her to leave town and start a better life somewhere else. John, who always looks out for the innocent, had left the money for her. After avenging his friend and destroying Hatcher's empire, John and Sandra decide to leave for a new adventure to a more peaceful town. Thanks for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more of these recaps. Until next time, have a nice day.